All right, boys, we're back. We are back for the what date is it? The third week in September. Big week this week. The merge.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun. I know that we had talked about it a little bit last week, but it's here. It is here. It is live. Seems to have gone off at a hook. Which, if you think about it from like a technological miracle, it's pretty wild. So that you can like move an entirely like globally distributed system over to a completely new way of like really kind of like core operating is pretty fantastic. But coming out of that, it's what I thought, like one of the biggest things that I thought was interesting is that like it was like boom, as soon as the merge was done, SEC was like ETH is now a security. No longer is it a commodity, it is a security. And they were like quick on the trigger with that too. And I'm surprised there wasn't more like out there about that or talk of that really before the transition. But from like a Howey test perspective, it kind of makes sense, right? Because now you can stake your ETH as an investment vehicle, and it is no longer just around paying for transactions via gas. And I'm curious to see. I mean, obviously ETH I think is tanking a little bit right now. That's the SAW's at like 1,300 or something. But if that's going to go back up, or go back, maybe continue going down. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I hope it doesn't continue to go down. I bought some. I bought some before. I don't know. I mean, the SEC on a bit of other information. I don't know if you heard about it, but I think it was this morning I was reading that SEC, basically Gensler has said that as most of the as they term a lot of the nodes are located in the US, they figure that they can prosecute anything that's involved with Ethereum and the blockchain in the US, no matter where in the world the person or entity is located,
Mm-hmm.
because Ethereum is located in the US because of the nodes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's something that, along with the whole SEC thing, is gonna require some figuring out, because if they just start pushing their way around the world because they figure that Ethereum is US based, I think Ethereum might start moving abroad.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even think about that. I was actually having coffee with a guy this morning, and he brought it up. He was like, "Yeah, the U.S. says that since it's like 49% of like node operators or something, which I think last
Yeah,
time I looked, it was like Lido's the huge one. Like Coinbase is one up there. Since they're all U.S. based,
yeah,
that makes Ethereum a U.S. asset, um,
yeah.
and
That's
therefore
messed up.
that's fucked up. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
government overreach if I have ever seen it
Yeah,
before.
and I mean, it goes back to like the conversations we've had in the past of, I think that regulation's important and needs to be there, but I mean, the I can't. Well, I can figure out, being a non-American. Sometimes I get very biased on what the U.S. government does, and so, but I see what they kind of are doing, and I can't tell if it's they're trying to just drive it out by making stupid decisions, or if they're just trying to get their share of the pie because they need the money. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me the way that they're approaching it, because they're not going to make anybody happy.
Yeah, I mean, because you mentioned of like being able to like reach now anywhere, right? And so this is a little tinfoil hat ish, but if we had to, uh, you know, pivot into a Joe Rogan podcast, like if that's the case, then you can basically create a lot of justification to go into any country where you think that people are, whether that's terrorism or narcotics or whatever, it becomes a very blanket asset to like do anything anywhere and then backstop it and say, well, you're interfering with the U.S. asset, therefore, X, Y, Z. We have control. And then as well as that, obviously, you mentioned like the money side of things as well. Like also, also a way to tax and like look to generate revenue, right? Like they're all about making money. That is the government's job. They've got the think was it Elon Musk said they've got the monopoly on violence, and yeah, it puts them in a. It puts. I mean, I think it puts the whole system at risk. With having that, and if you look at what, and I think that's a lot of like the argument going around of like why Bitcoin is still the only true decentralized currency. I saw that was like Michael Sayers all about it. But that whole thing that as soon as you switch to proof of stake, it's like now it's no longer as secure, right? And it's not as decentralized because you can have. I mean, it's easy to get above the whole 51% attack thing. I think Lido's pretty close, right? I think they're at like 49% or 35 or something percent
Yeah,
of all the
between
validators.
them, I think them and Coinbase. I always make the mistake between CoinDesk and Coinbase, but I think them and Coinbase equivalent up to 47 or something, and Coinbase is 12 or 13. So a
Yeah.
lot, they're pretty high. They're 30 something percent. I mean, that's a significant amount.
Mm-hmm.
I to go back to your question, I think Ethereum might go down more. I mean, obviously it's been back down to 1,000 recently. I don't think that that's necessarily bad in the long term.
Yeah.
Consolidation usually brings good things. The only problem is for me is that when things drop in crypto, people panic like the end of the world is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's just because of the type of people that are investing in crypto as an investment vehicle or what, but it's like we have no patience. It's like,
Right.
if it's not like now and I'm not buying my Lamborghini tomorrow, then I'm freaking out and jumping off the roof,
Mm-hmm.
like it's just it seems so immature. That's my only problem, fear of it is, if Ethereum goes down a little bit, that's fine. I'm looking 5-year, 10-year long term. It's going to be just fine. It's going to be like 10 times as big in 5 years as it is now. But, the immaturity level that's there sometimes does not help, the stability.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes back to lots of things we've already talked about, but that's the only thing that really worries me about what's going on right now is how much nonsense is going to be thrown out into the media because of this.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, it's with like it's so funny too. Like when you look at Web3 and you like draw the parallels of the group think and like mass hysteria around like these very micro issues that come up, right? They're all the same, right? Like when AI like first really came on the scene back in the day, it was like, oh my god, this is it's going to take over, it's going to do everything, it's going to automate it away every single job, like every like the whole world's going to come crashing down, and the poor like AI dev out there is like, I can identify clouds in a picture, and everyone's like, well, this is super underwhelming, AI doesn't matter, this is bullshit. And it obviously has long-term value there. I mean, you can even say the same. I was big working in the in the mobile development space, like when the first iPhone launched, and everyone's like, this is going to be a huge security risk, you don't need this stuff, like this is all so much, this is going to kill everything, and then when businesses started adopting like bring your own device to work, they're like, this is massive security risk, yada yada, like all of these crazy just huge full tilt swings that the market takes so quickly is nothing new, right? And I think that the difference that we live in now is that, especially like with crypto, to your like give me the Lambo tomorrow, is that if you look at ETH, it's up like 360% over the past 5 years, and like 11,000% over the past lifetime of it. And so I think just the general and that, and on or I think it's always easy to forget that every single day we wake up, we're living in a more connected, more like pervasive, more invasive environment where news and everything spreads faster every single day, and there's no rolling that clock back. So as we get into these new tech and this new stuff starts happening, like it just things go fast, and things will fold quickly. Just as with this, and like also at the end of the day too, like when you look about like prices dropping, is that, you know, at least if you look at typical currencies, you know, like the US dollar or the yen or the euro or whatever that is, you know, I think that with with crypto being traded globally and as freely and as frictionless as it is, means that it's going to react to any market conditions faster than any other form of currency, you know, and or value store. So, you know, when that one news, you know, whatever fucking clickbait article comes out that says, you know, ETH is going to the ground, and the next day it's got 10 million views and everyone's cashing out, like, of course that's going to happen faster than if you were like buying and trading, or, you know, leveraging, why can't I think of it? Yeah, like just basically hedging, trading on,
Forex.
yeah,
Forex.
typical, yeah, forex, like typical currency stuff.
Yeah.
And which leads into all of it. I think what most people do miss, like what people are missing the picture though of all of this, and like where really the problem's happening is that, and like why I think that it's good that we moved to proof of stake, but two, like why I'm kind of like happy to see people losing. I don't want to say that I'm happy seeing people losing money on ETH. I don't want to say that. But what I am happy about is that, you know, gas, aka ETH, was created, right, to keep people from spamming the network. And it's there as a payment mechanism to pay people to execute the transactions on a computer. And the fact that it turned into some speculative asset that people thought they were going to get rich on, like, you know, shame on them for not truly understanding what this thing was. And if you lose your shirt on it because you thought that you were going to buy Lambo, like, sorry, like that's, you know, that's not, it wasn't created to be a investment vehicle in any shape or form.
And that's a good point actually, and that brings us back to the SEC thing. It's like, you know, because it can be staked and earned interest, is it still really going to be a securities? Like I know how it passes, how we test and how they determine that, but going back to the root usage, as you said, Ethereum's there to pay for the transaction, the data, right?
Uh-huh.
The storage. That's pretty much it. I'm paying for storage with my ETH. Whether it goes up or down, it shouldn't matter. And whether I can earn more ETH by putting it somewhere, is that the real use? And I think you bring up a really good point that there's a lot of people. You know, I've said this before. When I got into blockchain, it was crypto because that's all crypto was, and then it went into DeFi, and now it's an NFT. There's a lot of people that started out as thinking of it as an investment, and now they're, you know, all. There's a lot of people that I know that are unhappy that blockchain's being used on a business side because they want it to be a get rich quick scheme. And you know, it's interesting how, you know, like you stated, this is the purpose of what it is. It's not meant to necessarily be an investment vehicle. And I think, you know, this is coming from someone who has quite a bit of my future investment locked up in, you know, crypto.
Yeah.
But I hope that it gets back to that point of, you know, let's focus on the utility and the building up and use of the technology rather than the when Lambo.
Yeah, so investors, obviously the price dipping isn't ideal, but is it from, you know, a business standpoint, people wanting to build on the blockchain, gas fees going down, is it like, are we from a business standpoint getting to a position where like the proof of stake model is working better and it's more attractive to build on Ethereum?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, so for one, like, I think that the question of is proof of stake a better model, I don't think was ever really there, right? I don't think that was ever a question, because a lot of like the layer twos that are able to deal with like high throughput transaction rates all run some form of a proof of stake or some other like non-proof of work consensus mechanism. I think that and those are all I don't want to say all of them, but a lot of the ones that you probably heard of are built on top of Ethereum that use Ethereum mainnet as like the anchoring ledger that they go back to because of the security and robustness of it. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that from a business perspective, it's going to open up a lot of doors for people building on top of ETH mainnet now. What that means to layer twos, I think is going to be interesting to see. But the other, just to jump back one more time, and harp on why it's so infuriating with the hysteria that goes around when ETH or crypto prices drop is because I think, as Bennett said it's that, when distributed apps came on the scene via Ethereum, it really opened up the door of possibilities, whether that's NFTs or all of these other, project ideas that's not cryptocurrency came and really opened up the tech for really opened it up for like the metaverse, right? So that a concept of like it's beyond currency. It's now we can build a lot of stuff on here. And the huge negative impact from a lot of people not knowing what the actual asset is, a la like ETH in this case. Again, it's not an investment vehicle. It's not there to get rich. It is literally just there as a mechanism to keep people from spamming a decentralized network. Like it's an operational cost. It's like put your 25 cents in the machine to ride it. Like that's why it's there. And what sucks is that when that price of that non-investment thing that the market turned into an investment speculative asset goes down, everyone starts to discredit the actual underlying tech, right? They're like, actually blockchain's bullshit. And it's like, no, it's not. It's actually very viable and it has a lot of potential upside. But just because the market turned it into something it's not, and now when it's not performing in the way that they want it, the non-intended use of it, people freak the fuck out. And it's such a ridiculous argument when you put it down on paper and people are like, oh, okay, now that makes sense. But we deal with it every single day. And that's, I think, one of the biggest uphill battles that not crypto, but blockchain has right now, and subsequently like the metaverse has, is just taking that perception or that, idea of what we thought what we were told it was, what we turned it into, and now what it's doing isn't what we thought. So like, how do you, from like a global scale, change that perspective? I think is really difficult, and something that we have a lot of work ahead of us to help solve. But that, I think is going to be the biggest thing coming out of this merge, is going to see that on the backs of, the U.S. trying to throw its weight around, SEC doing its thing. So there's challenge areas across the board. But the good part is, at the end of the day, is that if all this stuff wasn't happening, it would mean that we weren't doing something crazy cool, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a rant, but I got on the soapbox. I'll step down now. Like,
no, that's cool. I love hearing the soapbox. Usually it's me going off on a tangent. I'm excited to see where it goes, and I think that movement is always good. Even sometimes if it's backwards, at least you're moving. And I think the only thing that's, one of my pet peeves with Bitcoin is that it doesn't move. I mean, it's just there. Now, not getting into a discussion on Bitcoin and stuff, and I love it and I love the purpose of it, but one of the things is that there's no advancement. There's no giant leaps, even if they're a little bit backwards. There's nothing that's driving it forward, and there's a lot of people that are just saying it's the way it is, leave it alone, which has its merit. But going back to what you said, that if we're not moving forward with it, then stagnation is the worst.
You want to know when Bitcoin is going to change? Is when that final 21 millionth token is mined. All of a sudden they'd be like, actually, we need some more.
Yeah.
fuck it, fork it, we're doing the next one. Like, you know,
Yeah.
that's when it's going to change. But that is frustrating about the Bitcoin side as well. Is that? But I mean, I feel like that's and I've had to argue with you on it. I feel like that's the downside, but it is also kind of the beauty of it, right? Like it is you can hang your hat on. This isn't changing, right? And that level of
security and stability.
Yeah, stability. That stability and staticness drives a lot of confidence in it. Which is why, you know, I think the other ones are in for a little bit more of a bumpier ride. But again, it's, you know, at the end of the day, if like Bitcoin is there and it's not going to change because it works as a currency, right? That's all it's doing. It's not trying to power gaming or the next generation or future of digital ownership around. Like, it's just like, hey man, we'll sit back here. We'll be the seashells. People trade back and forth. We'll leave all the crazy stuff to you guys over there. But yeah, it's a good point and an interesting way to think about it, right?
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I do have to run. Got started a little late today, but as always, chat with the lads is great. Enjoyed it. I'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Some good stuff.
Later,
Okay,
fellas.
guys. Later.
Bye.
See you guys.